Norvell gives up $4.5 million. And if you're in here right now, or if you're watching this on replay, maybe we'll cut this out, Harlan. So maybe grab a rough timestamp for this. If you're watching this live or later, if you were like at an angry level of like 10, right? Whatever your pre-donation anger level was with like Florida State and Mike Norvell and just the situation that the Seminoles are in, how much did that come down with a huge donation of his own salary? Now, I will caveat it a little bit and talk about how it's a strategic good move, how it's probably not $4.5 million, but I don't want to take away from it. So, like, did that bring your anger level down at all? I talked to some people outside of Florida State who have said, like, if I was you, I'd almost be willing to give him not a free pass, but a whole nother chance based on that alone. Like, to me, that's a pretty good faith move. Now, there are some protections written in for Mike Norvell's sake, too. We can't fire him tomorrow and then say, like, thanks for the $4.5 million, obviously. But I do think it's a pretty good faith move from him. Florida State's probably going to take a little bit of a hit from a revenue standpoint, just in, I don't know, like, you know, if you start winning, it won't matter. But are they going to take a hit in NIL contribution? Are they going to take a hit in booster donation? Are they going to take a hit in season ticket sales? Are they going to take a hit? The Bama game will sell out, obviously. The game against Miami will sell out, obviously. Are the rest of the games on the schedule? They play 2 really bad cupcakes this year, which is great for the win-loss record. It's not great for ticket sales. All of that stuff is going to take a hit. And I don't know what the amount of money that the boosters or Florida State entities is going to lose in 2024/2025 due to just poor play. But I would imagine that a $4.5 million bump on top of whatever that loss is, right? Like, to kind of counterbalance some of that certainly helps the program in the long run. Now, there are some stipulations built in, and I don't have this. Maybe I should have looked this up, but I didn't, so you'll just have to forgive me. There are some certain stipulations built into this. Like, I think he gets a $750,000 bonus every time they win 9 games? Well, yeah, so you can earn it all back, right? But that's fine with me. We said a long time ago on this show, hey, I would be good with them dropping coaching salaries down significantly and then saying for every win you get over 6, we're going to bump your pay, right? And maybe at Florida State, you bump that number up higher because of your expectations. But I do think that, yeah, I'd rather that be the case. I'd rather your salary be lower and you be bumped up for additional wins. Like, if your salary was $3 million and you got your $3 million if you made a bowl, right? But if you got to 8 wins, we bump it to $5 million. If you get to 10 wins, we'll bump it to 7. If you go to the playoff or win the ACC, we'll bump it to 9. If you win a playoff game, we'll bump it to 11. You know, like, I'd be fine with that. So that's not exactly what this is, but he has a chance to earn all of it back. In fact, he can earn all of it back and more. We will pay him more in bonuses if we can win enough games. Now, why I think it's good for Florida State is I don't think we're winning 9 games next year. That's not me being negative. That's not me trying to, like, put anybody down. That's not me trying to, I'm not trying to crap or rain on a parade that's happening of somewhat excitement over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But I don't think we win 9 games. And so I don't think you're going to have to pay that $750,000 bonus next year. In 2026, if you do win 9 games, so whatever your win total is this year, you win 6, you win 7, you make a bowl, whatever, you win 7, 8 games, I don't know. If you win 9 in 2026, you're going to be talked about as one of those fringe playoff teams. Now, do you make the playoff? I don't know, right? Like Clemson did, right, with 9 wins, 10 in the ACC championship. So it's certainly possible. I don't know that I would predict that. I don't know that I would suggest that that happens. But if I was to tell you that they were to get to 9 wins this year, you'd certainly be okay with giving up a $750,000 bonus. If you get to 9 wins in 26, you're going to be pretty happy with giving a bonus for that and earning some of that or giving some of that back. I think Florida State's obviously also in a very dire spot just from the way of just literal cash right now. Obviously, you're at the deficit right now with the Big Ten and the SEC. Hopefully, within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that gets fixed and you're not at that deficit. You also have the revenue sharing. We're going to have to pay $18 million or so to athletes. Where are you finding that money from? And Florida State just had to fire some really expensive coaches. We need the money, right? And Norvell stepped up and, again, essentially gave a loan, kind of a guaranteed loan based on when or if we ever end up firing him or he ends up leaving, but gave a loan that helps in the here and now. Does he ever do more? Does he ever give more? I don't know. I will say on his character, I do think it says a lot about him. People have commented, hey, he did this to save his job. He did this so he wouldn't get fired. I don't know the logic that exists there when you hold all of the paper, all of the poker chips, when you hold all of the leverage. There's no way that he got strong-armed into a $4.5 million donation when he held all the chips. Like if somebody would have come to me and said, you have to give us this money or we're going to fire you, I'd have said, fire me and pay me my $64 million and we'll talk later. So there's no way he got strong. So I do think it's a very good faith thing. It helps Florida State in the here and now. It puts it back on Mike Norvell to be successful and to win games, because if you win games, which is the expectation here, we'll give you all that money back and more, right? If they were to go out and win, to be very honest with you, and you all might shudder to think of this, if they go out and win 10 games the next 2 years, I'm just telling you, he's going to get another contract extension. Like, that's just what's going to happen. But if you win 10 games the next 2 years, you're probably going to the playoff at least once. So you may hate the idea of him getting another extension, but I'm just telling you, it's probably happening again. Again, I think it's Mike Norvell owning up to things. I think it's him saying, yeah, this was not acceptable. This wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. The program that I built wasn't good enough. The roster that I built wasn't good enough. The staff that I built wasn't good enough. I screwed up. And $4.5 million is an insane amount of money. Like, it could be a loan. Obviously, if you fire him within so many years, you have to pay some of that back. Whatever. I saw Brian Kelly gave $1 million. I saw, we talked about this. Harbaugh gave like $1 million a couple of years ago. His contract was kind of readjusted. This is so much more and such a staggering amount. Like, literally, you think about it. I think what he's actually going to get paid after the donation is like $5.3 million. And obviously with that, he's in the largest tax bracket, which means 40% of it he's going to pay in taxes. I would assume, right? Like, if CPA is on here and wants to correct me, that's fine. So like of his 5.3, excuse me, 40% of that's gone. Let's say 30%, right? Like, just if I'm bad at math, a third of it's gone. Like, he's only going to make like $3 million, three and change. He gave more than he will end up taking home. I think that's pretty commendable. I think that's pretty, you can think whatever you want about the moves this offseason. You can think obviously whatever you want about 2-10. Nobody's happy with that. It doesn't undo 2-10. It certainly is commendable. And I'll say this. I've gotten some tweets about this. I've gotten some comments about this on YouTube. I know that a lot of people were fed up with the product and sick of the product, and they thought, man, the way I'm going to show them that I'm not happy with the product is I'm going to cancel my booster membership, or I'm going to cancel my Battle's End, or I'm, getting off of Patreon, or I'm getting off of Noles 247 or On3 or whatever. I'll show them by doing that. And what you ultimately do with your money is completely fine. Like, I'm not going to peer pressure you in. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, well, help us build back better and all this other stuff. What you ultimately do with your money is fine. If you are someone, though, that canceled, or, you were in a place where you're like, you know what, this just isn't worth it. My mental health is suffering, so I'm not going to contribute money to this. I would say that it's probably a pretty good sign that your coach, whether you like him or not at this point, was willing to give $4.5 million. It's probably not the worst idea to maybe sign back up for the Battle's End at $19.93 a month. Not pressuring anybody. I'm not saying you have to. We peer pressured hard, but again, you see the push that LSU's making right now with NIL. I don't know how many of you are on social media to see that kind of stuff. LSU's making a massive push. Brian Kelly's put in $1 million. I think they had a donor match that $1 million, and then they're raising $1 million through the fan base, just kind of word of mouth, like kind of like we did at the end of the year last year, where we were trying to raise so much in donations. You do with your money what you feel is best. If this thing's going to get back to where we want it to get, pulling support, right? You may hate NIL, you may hate the space that college football is in right now. Pulling support away from it, pulling the lifeblood, like literal cash away from it, is certainly not a way that it's going to help. And again, if that encourages 2 people to sign up, 1 person to sign up, 1 person to restart their membership or unblock their credit card or whatever you did when you canceled the Battle's End or canceled your booster membership or didn't renew your season tickets, it's probably at least a little bit of a good faith thing that Norvell did, and maybe we can mimic it too. I will say it helped that my Battle's End thing was on auto payment, because like if I would have had to be like writing a check and sending it in every month, nobody writes checks anymore. Let's be real. But if I was having to do that of my own will, I don't know that I would have. The Battle's End, from what I've been told, is going to, or it sounds like is already doing if you want to do a one-time $45 donation, they also have a $450 available. If you want to maybe throw that their way and make a little one-time donation, because Mike Norvell did, certainly would encourage you to do that. In fact, I'll do that. And anybody that super chats tonight, we'll take all the super chats from the show and throw that in if that's easier. I will say YouTube keeps like half of the money, so maybe don't super chat. Like send a Venmo or something, and we'll it's just Double Fries Pod on Venmo, and we'll send that over. Don't super chat. I don't want YouTube to get it. And that's also why we don't push for super chats. But anyway, yeah, the Battle's End. I would say maybe go donate there, right? Good faith thing that Norvell did. Maybe we can match it. Well, I don't know if we'll match it, but you can give $45, and that can be your way of matching it.